The Solitaire conspiracy is both something fresh and new from Bithell Games, the creators of the likes of Thomas Was Alone and Volume, but it's also a game that is a continuation of a theme. The team behind Mike Bithell's releases continue a trend of smaller, more focused experiences that shy away from increasing complexity and layers of gameplay mechanics, to instead deliver games that are conceptually simple, but thematically rich and lovingly polished. It's an interesting approach for a small indie studio, where instead of trying to vie for bigger, and, from a game mechanics perspective, more complex games, they opt to invest more in creating a really clean but highly polished style. And now, following on from the narrative shorts, Subsurface Circular and Quarantine Circular, Solitaire Conspiracy shifts towards a variant of the popular card game. And this is the focus for this episode of Smoke and Mirrors, given the thing that really took me by surprise was how what is a seemingly simple game is elevated by the aesthetic and user experience within it. Solitaire Conspiracy revolves around a narrative of counter-terrorism and espionage, with players taking on the role of a random, unwitting person dragged into the situation in an effort to help save the failing spy agency Protego in capturing the terrorist known only as Solitaire. The conceit is that each deck of cards in a given game is meant to represent individual teams of spies, each with their own unique skill sets, the moving of cards indicative of the actions happening in the field. Each suit in the deck represent a different spy unit, and the face cards, Jack, Queen and King, all share a unique move that activates once the ace has been docked at the beginning. As I said, the game is conceptually simple, and the mechanics of it are fun for the most part. There are 9 factions, or, suits of cards you can choose from in skirmish mode, each with their own abilities, and you need to play through the game's story modes in order to unlock them all. Interestingly, many of the factions you work with during the game have abilities where their usefulness is not immediately obvious. To a point they may even seem badly designed or simply counterintuitive to put to use, but each does have its own relevance once you play for a time, given you start to think more creatively about why a suit which has a rather destructive effect can prove to be useful. But as I say, all of this is framed around the narrative, and with it, the slick, streamlined aesthetic with neon colours in amongst all the spy stuff. And this is what really pulled me into it, given it has this real professional sheen to it, but that aesthetic has such an attention to detail that it really sells itself as a AAA product, and it does so while achieving this deft balance of not looking outright ridiculous and overblown. This isn't to say that Bithell's previous releases have lacked this. Far from it, those games have always had real consideration given to their art choices and aesthetic, going all the way back to Thomas Was Alone, but this feels like a culmination of a lot of lessons learned. Whether it's the really high-resolution card art that enables the fancy dealing at the start of each round, or the carefully processed pixelation applied to the in-game videos, and even bringing in actors such as Inel Tomlinson and Samantha Baird, alongside the lead of the game, Greg Miller from Kinda Funny. By the way, Mike, you ever need a Scottish guy in a game, you call me, okay? I do voice good. And all of this doesn't detract from the game itself. I mean, it might if you were something of a Solitaire purist. Nor does it oversell the quality of the game. It's a really well crafted and easy to play Solitaire game. And this is where it really clicks, because it's not just the production sheen, the user experience is really solid. Given the game doesn't just look good, but it also feels good to play, and these two things compounded together really help sell that experience. There's nothing worse than when a game is designed to look great, and as a result it compromises on the user experience. Which I have to say a fair number of AAA titles in recent years have opted for this approach, so it's nice to play a game that is easy to pick up and enjoy with all the trimmings that surround it. And ultimately I do think the game will actually sell better as a result of this elevated style that they're working with, because it really sells it as a much larger and more ambitious product. And that was pretty much all I had to say for this episode and the Solitaire Conspiracy. I'm still enjoying it, and hope to keep picking it up over lunch breaks and such in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching this episode of Smoke and Mirrors. Do let me know if you've tried this game out yourself, and I'll be back soon with another video. Take care everyone.